If you are born outside the Caribbean, I don't care if both your parents are Caribbean. You are not Caribbean. Or are you? Watch the comment section start bubbling already. Because the second you say this, the room splits. Half the people in the diaspora are ready to fight. The other half smiling quietly like, finally, somebody said it. And the people actually born in the Caribbean, they are just leaning back with their tea, enjoying the action.
Is this a good thing or a bad thing?
Here's the thing. This isn't just a simple question about where you were born. This is a landmine. It's about belonging. It's about roots versus reality. It's about whether culture is something you inherit or something you live. Some people believe it's simple. If you are not born in the islands, you are not one of us. Full stop. You might look Caribbean, you might eat the food, you might even visit for holidays. But that's not the same as growing up here. But then there's the other side. People saying, so what? My people gave me the culture, the language, the morals. And I'm not Caribbean. Make it make sense. Which side is right? Well, that's where it gets messy. Do you know the "you had it easy" argument? One of the strongest comments I've seen on social media goes like this. You didn't grow up with water lockoffs every other day. You didn't walk to school in the sun until your socks turned grey. And you didn't see mango season as a survival strategy. You had it easy. To a lot of island-born people, your hardship or lack of it is the deciding factor. If your childhood didn't come with bucket baths, storm prep drills, and know exactly how to dodge that one auntie who is always asking you when you're going to get married, then, to them, you're a guest in the culture, not a native. But here's where it gets interesting. Some diaspora folks fire back with, easy. I grew up in a place where nobody understand my culture, where my accent was mocked, where I had to fight to keep my identity alive in a country where they were trying to get rid of it. Think about it. For some people born abroad, their Caribbean identity wasn't handed to them on a plate. It was a battlefield. Learning the language so you could understand your grandmother, cooking the food so you didn't lose the taste, finding other Caribbean people so you didn't feel alone. That's not the same struggle, but it's a struggle nonetheless. But let me be honest, maybe both sides are right. You can't really understand what it's like to fully grow up in the Caribbean if you didn't live there. But you also can't tell someone who's been raised with the culture, tradition and values that they are not real just because of geography. That's like saying mangoes grown outside the islands stop being mangoes. They might taste different, they might look different, but they're still mangoes. The older generation tend to be harsher. They'll look you in the eyes and say, child, you're Canadian or British or American. Stop pretending you're not. Meanwhile, the younger people tend to blend identity more freely. They'll say, I'm Caribbean and Canadian, or I'm British born Jamaican. It's not about choosing one. It's about stacking one on top of the other like layers in a roti. Which brings up another question. If culture can stack, then why are we arguing about this? Here's the twist nobody talks about when outsiders weigh in. You'll have non-Caribbean people confidently telling you who counts and who doesn't. Suddenly, the entire conversation turns defensive and it's not even about identity anymore. It's about ownership. Who owns Caribbean culture? The ones living in the islands, the ones carrying it abroad? Or is it something nobody can truly own because it's meant to be lived? And where the tension really builds is when someone says, you're only Caribbean when it's convenient. You know what that means, right? People born abroad might claim the culture for carnival or food festival or when it's trendy on TikTok, but disappear when the real struggles of the region come up. That hurts because for many people of the diaspora, the love for the culture is constant. But do they show it or do they just say it? So here is the question I want to leave hanging for now. Is being Caribbean something you are born into or something you choose every single day? You live it. Alright, before we keep going, I want you to drop your flag in the comments. If you are born abroad, tell me, do you consider yourself Caribbean? And if you are born in the islands, do you consider them Caribbean? Don't just say yes or no.
Tell me why.
Because this conversation doesn't really end here. In fact, what I'm about to get into next will make things even worse. Because I'm going to talk about the one thing both island-born and diaspora-born people do that makes the whole argument hypocritical. And when you hear it, you might just change your mind. So remember how I said both island-born and diaspora-born people are both guilty of the same thing? Yeah. Here's the truth. We all, no matter where you were born, cherry-pick the parts of Caribbean identity that works for us and quietly ignore the parts that don't. Think about it. Island-born people living abroad, they suddenly start loving the diaspora perks. High-paying jobs, Target runs, Amazon Prime, but then get salty at diaspora kids for not having authentic roots. Diaspora folks, they rep the culture at parties, in captions, during carnival time, but might not follow the news from back home or really know what's happening on the ground. Different sides of the ocean, same selective loyalty. And this is where it gets dangerous, because instead of building a united Caribbean identity, we start policing it. Suddenly it's a contest. Who's more Caribbean? Who's more authentic? Who's the real deal? When the truth is, this split, this back and forth is exactly how cultures fade. Now let's talk about this accent argument. Because nothing exposes the tension faster than the accent test. Island-born people will say, talk. Let me hear you talk. And if your accent isn't up to par, if it slips, if it sounds Americanized, they'll smile politely, but mentally stamp not Caribbean across your forehead. But let's be real, your accent can fade if you're surrounded by another language pattern 24/7. Even island-born people lose theirs after living abroad long enough, right? Yet when it happens to someone living abroad, it's proof that they aren't real. And it's not just the accent, no. There's the food test, the slang test, the music test. Do you know this song? No? Fake. Do you know how to peel a mango with your teeth? No? Fake. Have you ever had to climb a guava tree barefoot? No? Fake. It's this constant proving game, as if your whole identity can be measured by if you know how to season chicken the right way. It's crazy. And here's the twist. The people most likely to bridge this gap, the older relatives who have lived on both sides. Think about your grandmother who moved abroad in her late 40s. She's the only one who can look at both island-born and diaspora-born and say, you're all Caribbean. Now eat your food and stop fighting. Why? Because she knows what really matters. The music, the morals, the humor, the faith, the little everyday things that makes us us. Those things can survive across borders if we let them. It makes you think. Because maybe the real issue isn't where you were born. It's how much of the culture you carry forward. You can be born in Kingston and still lose your Caribbean identity if you don't carry on the traditions. You can be born in Toronto and still be deeply Caribbean if you live it every day. From the way you cook, to the way you speak, to the way you show up for your people. Now let's be honest. Whether you're island born or you're diaper born. Jeez. Whether you're island born or you're diaspora born, we all have our moments where we slip into full Caribbean mode. Like when you hear a pot cover fall into the kitchen and instantly know that somebody is cooking something serious. Or when the weather drops below 20 degrees Celsius and you start looking for your winter socks. Those little quirks, those are the glue. Those are the things that make you feel Caribbean, no matter where your passport was made. But here's the part we're all scared to admit. Every time we fight about who's real or who is not, we are ignoring the bigger picture. The world is changing. The Caribbean, both in the islands and people abroad, need unity more than ever. Economies are shifting, climate change is hitting our homelands hard. Our music, our food, our language, they're all being repackaged and sold by people who aren't even from the Caribbean. So, the initial question is, if you're born outside the Caribbean with Caribbean parents, are you even Caribbean? Me? I hold my hands up. And I give you my take in the comments below. Because in the end, we are still one. And it's not just a destination. It's the journey.